inviting me. I'd love to talk about genomics in production medicine. Okay, so I think they go hand in hand. Everybody's like, what? Well, we can use genes. Oh, what did I do? Turn this on. We can use genes to actually keep a cow healthy, so we don't need to use hormones or use antibiotics to keep them healthy. Their genes can do it themselves. And always people talk to me about, well, there's limiting factors that are on my farm that are going to take out a cow, not her genetics. Well, I've got some information that we're going to look at today, and we're going to see it in the commercial side of the business. And we're going to see cows do amazing things, and other cows that can't hardly stay in the farm more than a day. And the question is why? You know, those cows are all treated the same, they're all fed the same. Some cows prospered and some cows failed extremely bad. So we're going to look at that today, and it's going to be interactive. I'm going to ask questions, and hopefully the group will be able to answer. Right now we know that there's a lot of heifers in a dairy. Why can we have more heifers today than we could have 10 years ago? Okay, someone said sex semen, that is the right answer. So sex semen, we can have as many heifers as the dairy could ever need. We could grow our dairy at almost twice the rate that we need heifers at, right? Because of sex semen. And another opportunity is all the breeding programs that we have today. So we're able to make as many females as the dairy will possibly need. The issue that we have is profitability. Which ones are going to be the most profitable? Which ones are not going to be the most profitable? And when can we know that? How much does it take? How much investment does it take to get a Springer to the barn?
$1,500, $1,600, yeah.
$1,500, $1,600?
$2 a day.
$2 a day? So somewhere in that neighborhood of $1,600 is the number. We're going to invest $1,600 to find out if this is going to be a profitable animal in 2 years, right? So 2 years worth of investment, $1,600. What we want to try to do is find out which ones are going to be our next top producers, and we want to rank them based on their merit. And we figure out which ones we want to pick, which ones we want to sell. Do we need to buy others because we don't have any that are good enough? Whatever it may be. Using genomics to figure this out at a very young age will allow us to then have the flexibility to move forward and make the profitable decisions. This is exactly what we just talked about, what it costs. There was a point in time not very long ago that you couldn't sell a Springer for a profit. This is one of the reasons why. Everybody knows the price of volatility of milk, and that has a direct impact on how much somebody's willing to pay for one of your Springers. Dairymen are brutal when they go to buy someone's Springer. If milk prices are low, they won't pay you anything for a Springer. They don't care how much it costs for you to raise it. So everybody knows that if milk is very high, like we just got done having for the last 6 months, Springer prices did what?
It was crazy high.
They were crazy high. We know that when we look at income over feed, that as the animal makes more milk, we actually make more money per day, right? And this is looking at calculated income over feed costs at 14 cents per pound of dry matter, $22.50 milk, well, we don't have that any longer, and 55 pounds of dry matter for the lowest level of production, and then a 0.5 pounds of dry matter for each pound of increase in production. And we can see animals making barely under $1 a day, all the way up to $3.50 a day over income. This money is used to pay back what? Her rearing costs, right?
Let me go back on that, Paul.
Uh-huh.
Good point. So these, all 1,200 of these are genomic, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you got the ranges from minus 400 to plus 1,200 average. Is that the mean?
This right here is this is the broken in to 10 percentiles. Okay, so that's the mean of that group. So you can see their actual, this is what their genomic milk was, and this is actually what they did, their average ME 305. And then you can see, then we plotted them out on income to see when they can start to pay back some. This is actually trying to figure out when they can pay back their debt to the dairy for being raised on the farm. And then the next slide says it takes 31,000 pounds before the animal has paid off her debt and starts to actually contribute real profit to the dairy, not pay off her rearing cost debt. typical 21 second lactation. And the reason for that is that you can see here where the income is kicking at $2 a day at 30,000 pounds. So below that, they're barely paying back any debt. So what we're going to look at is a scenario. We're going to look at 3 commercial dairies. One has not used genomics, but used sex semen to produce a lot of heifers. His thought process was, I'll produce extra, and then I'll bring them into the farm. I'll test them by milking them a couple times, and then I'll sell the ones that aren't cutting it. Okay. So he's 100% time bred. Good repro. He's got 27 annualized preg rate on dairy comp. Waiting period's 80 days because he's 100% time bred. He's got 46% of his animals that are first lactation. This is the lactation curve for the first lactation animals. So the average, I think, is right around 80 pounds. They get up to 86 pounds, and they go down. This is his solds and diets. This is where it started getting interesting, because I started trying to figure out, well, who pays the bills on a dairy? And who's sucking all the profit out of a dairy? We already saw some graphs that said 31,000 pounds is what it takes before they are paid off. So what I did is I said, dairy comp, tell me the animal's lifetime milk. Lifetime milk, okay? And I want this plotted so I can see the count of these animals. As these animals are climbing up this line, they're actually putting more and more milk into their lifetime or into the dairy. And at this point right here, it's 50,000 pounds. This is a 50,000 pound hurdle. Okay? So this population of animals are working to get over the 50,000 pound hurdle. And then those animals that are from this line all the way up have produced more than 50,000 pounds. So then I said, well, give me a count. So in dairy comp, there's 2,975 cows milking in the farm. 42 of those animals have given between 100,000 and 212,210 pounds. If you did $20 milk, you have animals that have gross between $20,000 and $42,000. You have 514 animals that are at 50,000 to 98,850 pounds, and their gross is between 10,000 and 20,000. This is the working class of America, and then this is everyone else. So we have 2,418 that haven't made 50,000 pounds yet. These girls' profits are feeding these girls' profits, right? This is a huge dynamic in a commercial dairy. So then I said, okay, I want to see how many animals are leaving the farm, how much total lifetime milk did they produce? So then I said, okay, here's the 50,000 pound line, dairy comp again, and I said, graph me out lifetime total milk on the Y, and on the X, I need the date, the archive date of when these animals were culled. And then I need it by lactation so I can see what they're leaving. So you can see, here's the game plan was, remember, is to bring these animals in, test them a couple times, and sell them. So he's doing that here. You can see all those first lactation animals leaving, and then you see still quite a few second lactation animals leaving. But what was interesting is there's a lot of third lactation animals that are still in the farm did leave the farm and hadn't made it over 50,000 pounds yet. So I wasn't real sure how clean he was. Some people, and it's a gut feeling inside, it's hard to sell some heifers that really are purty, that aren't doing very good. So you're kind of like, I'm going to give her another chance. It's almost like a lot of these heifers that maybe weren't doing a really stellar job stayed around for the second lactation, and then they left then. So here's a farm's genomically testing. They're milking 1,827. They've got 262 cows that are in that high group. They've got 545 of them that are in that medium group, and they've got 1,020 that are in that low group that are climbing. So this is your first lactation animals climbing up to over 50,000 pounds. So you can see that looks quite a bit different. You can see here that he's removed most of his animals off his genomics test, and now these are the ones he's brought to the barn, and these are still Everyone knows genomics is not 100%, and I'm not up here to tell you it is. But I am going to tell you that it's a lot cleaner and it's the most accurate that we have to choose making early decisions now. So here are still some animals that were called early. Those are his sold and dieds. And he's milking 30% of his herd first lactation. That's what his lactation looks like for those. There's the third farm. Third farm is 1,600 cows, 1,676 cows milking. He's got 315 cows that are in the high group. He's got 616 that are in the medium group and 745 that are in the, on their way up.
And it's 100% genomic herd too?
Yeah. 200% genomic herds. One guy's start with a little higher genomic pool than the other. This guy's got the higher genomic pool. So you can see his herd here as the animals freshen and start their journey up the road here. And then what percentage is mature and producing milk over 50,000 pounds in their lifetime, and which ones. So you can see the percentages there. And then you see his milk production. And he's got 21% of the animals that are first lactation. It's sold and died. And there's his culling, total lifetime milk. So obviously we like him. A good call is anything that's produced 100,000 pounds and she's tired or whatever's wrong with her, she needs to go. She's produced 100,000 pounds of milk. That's a good call. That's a profitable call. These down here, obviously, we aren't profitable. Yeah.
Have you ever noticed any correlation with the size of dairy into the increase in cows on that level? Every time you kept dropping here from 20, whatever the first herd was, it seems like every time you were dropping, seeing more cows above that 50,000 line. I don't know if that's a correlation between any of the herds or just more, but every time I notice if you drop numbers, you see an increase. You drop numbers, I didn't know if that was across the board or just in this.
No, I have another herd. I haven't ran those numbers, but I have another herd that's in that 22, 25 range, and we could run their numbers, and they'll be like that smaller herd. It's just the decisions, the thought process that you've gone into, and you've cleaned those heifers up, and so that you're bringing a better heifer, or you bring the best heifer into the farm, and they stay all the way over the 50,000 pound hurdle and keep going. So it's just depending on, you got to remember, a lot of those animals are 5-6 years old. We weren't genomically tested. So there's that situation. As time goes on, we're going to see these young genomic animals just keep on adding to that really high group. So right now we have a fallout rate that we couldn't control before.
But
Yeah.
Paul, if I understood the graphs right, your first herd had 46% first lactation animals all the way down to 21%.
Right.
So you're going to have a lower population that have the opportunity to move up into high lifetime production level. Is that correct?
No, because you won't have a lower. Because right here,
Right there. Go back.
what?
21% of the herd is
Right.
first lactation
Right.
versus the first herd that has 46% of the herd population is 2-year-olds.
Right. So when we look at removal rates, so they're removing very few first lactation animals, where here, removing a large percentage of first lactation, first and seconds. At a very low milk production too. I mean, they haven't made over 50,000 pounds yet. So there's a huge population here that's being removed. And the other one, there's a very small population being removed.
I follow you.
Yeah.
They were cold out before they ever had a chance to produce.
Yep. So ultimately, this is almost like a survival graph, kind of, where you're seeing who's still here and still producing, and the other one is I'm like, well, who's leaving and how much milk did they produce when they left? So why aren't more animals going over 50,000 pounds? Well, because they were sold before. They were all sold out of this population's all being sold before they could get over to here. That's why I had to put them both together. Because at first, when I first looked at this, I kind of was thinking like you were thinking. I was like, well, what's going on here? Then I had to go to culling and figure out how much milk they were producing when they were getting culled. So if all producing over 50,000 pounds and they're being culled, then they've made it over into this high group. But if they haven't made it over to 50,000 pounds, never sold.
So have you analyzed the coal and the coal categories and see if that's migrated to a different, is it reproduction, is it mastitis, is it injury, away from low production or breeding problems or whatever?
So this is high quantity, low quality. The other is high quality and the right quantity. Does that make sense? When you're using the genomics, you're finding the population that you want, first of all, to breed and make a calf from. And then second of all, now you take that calf crop and you test those calves. You say, okay, these are the superior genetics I'm going to keep. These are the ones I'm going to sell or remove. Okay, one over. So the moral, I guess, of this story was, for a small period of time, he looked like a hero because springers and fresh heifers were worth a lot of money for about 6 months. So this looked really good, but you know, this scenario for the last 3 years wasn't that good. The Holstein cow is amazing, and everyone. This is, if you took the highest, in the Holstein population, you took the highest chromosome 1, this is where it would be, $320, okay? This is for net merit. Anyway, if you took all the way across the 29 chromosomes and you added all that together, that animal would be worth $7,515 net merit dollars more than the average Holstein in its transmitting ability. If it was a cow and she was in your farm, she'd be 15,000 pounds more, or $15,000 more profitable in her lifetime than the average Holstein. And this was before we had the base change, so those numbers have changed a little bit. But just so everyone understands in this room that we haven't even scratched the surface of the gene possibility combinations in the Holstein breed yet. No other breed can say that. So you as breeders, those gene maps that Pat was talking about and showing you how genomic mating, it's coming and we're working on those possibilities. We're going to move at a rate in the Holstein breed faster than any other breed. No one's going to catch the Holstein. They're not going to be big, but they are going to be profitable. We might have to adjust our eye a little bit. The commercial cow will not look like the show ring cow, but they will have functional type, and they will have functional profitable type. They will last, they will breed, they will produce a lot of solids, fat and protein, and they'll produce a lot of milk. And they will last a long time. So when we talk about clarified testing, we say, well, what do we get? Well, we get a lot of things. You get fertility, you get production type traits, you get parent verification, you get indexes, you get genetic conditions, you get milk component, and you get type traits. These are all the things you have to have if you're going to make a long-lasting, profitable cow. You can't just pick one trait or another. All this information, like I just said, it's comprehensive, so we can't pick one thing or another. The reliability is the big key, is that we're no longer guessing. We actually have a roadmap, sort of like what Pat showed us. We have those maps, and we can actually start to put together what those animals are going to do, where an animal's weak and another animal's strong. Not necessarily are all those genes coming together when we want them to come together. We may have to make quite a few copies, flush a cow, and have 10 or 15 of those calves from that same mating before one of them will pop. So when we flush an animal, we see 15 heifer calves or 15 bull calves on the ground from that one. Genomically, they're all different. The genes came together always in some type of order, sometimes better, sometimes worse, sometimes the same. And Pat showed you that, where we could see the values that came from the female side and what values came from the male side. Here's reliabilities. You can see here, clarified and Zoetis, we've got reliabilities now. I see some that are hitting 79% on the reliabilities, in particular in the fat, protein, milk type of components. This is all the information that's going in, and then we can help make selections.